So recently I made a video where I talked about a new Dota 2 hero that was hinted by the Phantom Assassin's persona. And in that video, I figured out the identity of that upcoming hero. And in this video, I'm going to try to speculate about this upcoming hero's lore and backstory. And since this video is obviously a follow-up for that previous video, I highly recommend you guys to first watch that video before watching this video, either by using the card on the screen right now or the link in the description box below, because otherwise you probably won't understand the things that I'm going to talk about in this video. But if you have already watched that previous video, let's begin this video. So to recap, in that previous video, we figured out that the identity of this new hero that this Phantom Assassin's persona is talking about is this ghostly veiled sister assassin called Elspeth that is depicted in this artifact card. And we also found out that this upcoming hero Elspeth is actually going to be based on this unreleased Dota 1 hero called the Ghost Revenant, and that she is closely connected to the Revenant's Brooch item that we have in game. But in that previous video, I intentionally left out one crucial detail about the Revenant's Brooch item, because that small detail actually acts as a stepping stone that we can use to construct a possible backstory and lore for this upcoming hero, which I obviously thought deserves its own separate video. And that is what I'm going to discuss now. So the small detail that I left out about the Revenant's Brooch item is that the lore of this item states that this brooch is cursed. Yes, I know this might not sound like much at face value, but the fact that this item's lore specifically states that this brooch is cursed leads me to believe that maybe this brooch might be what is responsible for turning Elspeth into a revenant that is stuck between life and death in the first place. And this also opens up the possibility that she might not even be a real revenant after all, at least not in the undead sense, but she is actually more or less stuck in a cursed existence, where she simply exists between life and death. And this actually lines up with the fact that the definition of a revenant is a person who have returned supposedly from the dead, meaning their death is not really confirmed. So all of this means that there is a high chance that Elspeth was cursed by the Revenant's Brooch to become a revenant by one of her enemies. And at this point, it's a pretty obvious guess that Nerif the Oracle is Elspeth's enemy who cursed her. And this would explain why Elspeth aids Asan and the exiled Veiled sisters to succeed in their mission to kill the Oracle. And if you look closely at the Revenant's Brooch item, it does share a similar aesthetic to Oracle's abilities and the Oracle himself, with a gold and a light blue color scheme, which suggests that the Revenant's Brooch could have originally belonged to the Oracle, which in turn means that Nerif is probably the one who is responsible for Elspeth's cursed existence. So we can say that Elspeth and Nerif are rivals. And this combined with the fact that Elspeth is said to have a strong connection with the Phantom Veil makes me wonder if Elspeth was the original Veiled Oracle of the Veiled Order, before Nerif the Oracle came along and overthrew Elspeth and cursed her to wander around as a Revenant by using the power of the Revenant's Brooch. But although this is a plausible backstory for Elspeth, this theory has one glaring problem, and that is the fact that this artifact card that mentions Elspeth strongly implies that she is a Veiled sister assassin, so she can't really be the original Veiled Oracle. And personally, I feel like this would be a lame and boring backstory for Elspeth anyways, and because of this reason, I came up with a headcanon theory for this hero's backstory, which I honestly think would be a perfect fit for this hero's lore. And by the way, just know that this is just my own personal headcanon backstory for this upcoming hero, and therefore it's mostly going to be a lot of speculation. And I know that I don't really have to explain it at this point, but sometimes I do find comments in my videos that honestly makes me wonder if they don't really know the meaning of the word speculation. So if you happen to be one of those people, just make sure to look up the definition of this word before you embarrass yourself in the comment section below.
That makes sense to me.
Then take it.
It's not my wallet.
So yeah, I hope I made my point. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's fire up the headcanon theory. So my theory starts with Muerta. You see, in the 4 Years Contract comic, we learned that Muerta was actually destined to kill Nerif the Oracle. But since Nerif can foresee the future, he was already ready for this encounter. And because of this, he managed to trick Muerta with a false promise and sent her in a wild goose chase of assassinations to keep her busy so that she never gets around to killing the one person that she was destined to kill, which is the Oracle. And after the release of this Phantom Assassin's persona, we learned that there can be more assassins that are destined to kill the Oracle like Asan. So what if Elspeth was also another one of these assassins that was destined to kill the Oracle? Because we do know that Elspeth used to be a Veiled sister before she became a wandering revenant. So I think this is how it all went down. So just like Muerta, Elspeth came to kill Nerif the Oracle, but unlike Muerta, she wasn't swayed by the Oracle's false promise, and therefore she started to attack Nerif. And because of this, Nerif must have used his Fate's Edict ability to temporarily disarm her. But since this was not not gonna hold her for long, Nerif probably had to take extreme measures, and he ended up using the Revenant's Brooch to curse Elspeth and trap her between life and death, so she cannot harm Nerif. But what does trapped between life and death really mean? Well, since the Revenant's Brooch item revolves around the Ethereal status effect, I think being trapped between life and death actually means that Nerif cursed her with the Ethereal status effect. And this totally makes sense if you think about it, because if Elspeth is a well-sister assassin just like Mordred, she obviously should have a similar skill set. So trapping her in an ethereal state actually counters both of her biggest strengths, because we know that in-game, units that are in the ethereal state are effectively disarmed, so she cannot really attack the Oracle and proc her crit to kill him, while on the other hand she also takes amplified damage from spells, and her blur ability is rendered useless, meaning that Nerif can now nuke her with his spells and even threaten to kill her. So I think this effectively caused Elspeth to retreat, which in turn allowed Nerif to survive Elspeth's assassination attempt. And Elspeth being trapped in an ethereal state actually also lines up with the fact that the Ghost Revenant hero had an ability called Wraith that allowed the Ghost Revenant to become ethereal, and at max level this ability's duration and the cooldown is the same, which effectively allowed the Ghost Revenant to be always ethereal if he wants to. So Elspeth being stuck in an eternal ethereal form fits in perfectly with the fact that she is indeed based on the Ghost Revenant hero. And here I would like to add something. You see, I was actually thinking of making a video speculating about Elspeth's in-game abilities. However, I feel like I won't be able to finish editing that video in time. So in case I wouldn't be able to post that video, just know that according to a bunch of evidence that I found, I think her abilities are mainly gonna revolve around the ethereal status effect, much like the unreleased Ghost Revenant hero that she is based upon. And there's also a high chance that she is probably gonna have an ability that is similar to the active of the Revenant's Brooch item. And I do know that all of this might sound random to you, but unfortunately I don't really have the time to explain how I came to this conclusion in this video, so I guess you guys just have to trust me on this for the time being. But anyways, with that aside, let's get back to the topic of this video. So all of these factors seems to suggest that the curse of the Revenant's Brooch trapped Elspeth in an eternal ethereal state. But although all of this seems to fall into place, you may have noticed that there is one huge problem, because we know that in-game, the active of the Revenant's Brooch item doesn't have the ability to turn enemies ethereal. And although this is completely true, there is one way that this might fit in with my theory. And to explain this, I gotta talk about the Gleipnir item, which is an item that is based on the unbreakable chains of Norse myth. And this is the reason why this item's active is literally named the Eternal Chains. But in game it only roots enemies for like 2 seconds, which clearly isn't an eternity. So this whole thing about the Revenant's Brooch item turning Elspeth ethereal can be easily overlooked as a difference between this item's lore and its function in game. However, I still wanted a way to prove that the Revenant's Brooch did turn Elspeth ethereal, similar to the active of the Ethereal Blade, and conveniently, I actually found the decisive proof that I needed in Asan's voice lines towards the Ethereal Blade item.
Some of my first memories were of ethereal embrace.
So here he says that one of his first memories were of Ethereal Embrace, and I'm pretty sure that this Ethereal Embrace that he remembers is Elspeth's presence as this ghost-like entity that is trapped in an ethereal form, because we do know that Elspeth did guide Asan and his teachers throughout the years. So this voice line proves once and for all that Elspeth is trapped in an ethereal state, which means that the Revenant's Brooch did trap Elspeth in an ethereal form, just like I speculated before. So now that's settled, I gotta talk about another interesting thing that this voice line seems to bring into light. You see, in this voice line, Asan claims that one of his first memories was that of Elspeth's ethereal embrace, meaning that Elspeth was around him ever since he could remember. And this combined with the fact that Asan considers Elspeth as a mother figure and constantly refers to her as mother in a couple of his other voice lines, again points towards the possibility that Elspeth might actually be Asan's biological mother. And you may remember that I alluded about this possibility in the previous video where I talked about this upcoming hero, and in that video, I refused to go down that rabbit hole. Well, that's because now is the time we should explore this possibility. So to recap, in that video, we found out that a couple of Asan's voice lines states that he never knew about his family or parents.
I never knew my parents. Yours wish they never knew you. I never knew my family, but I gather yours are smiling today.
And although these voice lines might oppose the idea of Asan being Elspeth's son, they can also be easily countered by the assumption that Asan simply doesn't know that Elspeth is his mother. Because what if Elspeth never revealed this fact to her son Asan? But from the looks of it, Asan's subconscious seems to know that they are related, because he intuitively refers to Elspeth with the title of mother. So we can say that Elspeth is probably Asan's real mother. But now the question is, why isn't Elspeth revealing this fact to Asan? And who is his father? Well, if I'm really being honest, I have a feeling that Nerif is Asan's father.
I am your father.
No.
That's impossible!
Yes, I believe that Oracle is Asan's father, and looking back now, they do have similar facial features, but you might still think I'm crazy. However, I assure you that this isn't a baseless assumption based on their appearance. Let me explain. So we know that the Oracle can see and predict the future, so I think when Asan was born, Nerif must have foreseen the fact that Asan was destined to kill him. Hence, Asan's prophecy of him killing the Oracle was born with him. So in a way, Asan's birth story is kinda similar to the birth story of Oedipus in the Greek myth, where the son is destined to kill the father. And since we know that Nerif will do anything to prevent himself from dying, he must have tried to kill baby Asan. However, Asan survived because of his mother Elsbeth, who I think might have rebelled against Nerif to save her son. And since Elsbeth is a well-respected Veil sister in the Order, she may have asked her closest Veil sister friends to smuggle Asan out of the Veiled Order in order to save him. So basically, I think the exiled Veil sisters that raised Asan all these years were actually his mother's best friends, who were now exiled because they opposed Nerif and helped Elsbeth to save her son. Meanwhile, Elsbeth might have confronted Nerif and tried her best to buy time for his son to be taken to safety. And since Nerif obviously knows that he cannot win a fight against one of the best phantom assassins of the Order, he must have used the power of the Revenant's Brooch on Elsbeth to disarm her with the Ethereal state. And I think the reason why he didn't proceed to kill her was because she was his wife and he must have loved her or something like that. However, the more likely situation is that Nerif kept Elsbeth in her cursed Ethereal state so that she won't be able to hurt him, and it also acts as a punishment for allowing Asan to escape. So now that Nerif got Elsbeth out of the way, he must have sent the remaining Veil sisters that was under his control to hunt Asan and the exiled Veil sisters as an attempt to prevent Asan from fulfilling his prophecy of him killing his father Nerif. So all of this means that Elsbeth was actually cursed to become a Revenant while she was trying to protect Asan from the Oracle. So she must really love her son, and this would explain why even though Elsbeth is cursed to be stuck in an eternal ethereal state, she was always looking after Asan along with the exiled Veil sisters. So basically, Elsbeth was always protecting her son long after she was cursed to become an ethereal ghost, never revealing the painful past that Asan left behind. But since Elsbeth knows that Oracle will not rest until Asan is dead, she and the exiled Veil sisters must have decided that the best course of action to save Asan from his dreadful fate was to train Asan and prepare him for the inevitable destiny that Asan had to face. Because in the end, the fact that Asan was hunted all his life by the Veil sisters is the reason why he ended up breaking into the Veiled Order to kill Nerif when the prophesized day came around. So yeah, that's the end of my headcanon theory. And honestly, when I first started this headcanon, I didn't think I would actually end up creating a cohesive lore for this upcoming hero. And personally, I'm really happy with how it turned out, because it turned out to be a pretty decent, heartfelt story with a couple of twists and turns. And even though it has a tragic ending, I really think this headcanon backstory would perfectly fit in as Elsbeth's official in-game lore. However, at the end of the day, it's all up to Valve to write a lore for this upcoming hero. So I guess only time will tell if the lore that I created as a headcanon in this video actually ends up becoming Elsbeth's canon in-game lore when she is released as a playable Dota 2 hero. But anyways, that's it for this video, guys. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this. And comment down below and let me know what you guys think about this headcanon lore that I came up with for this upcoming hero, because I would love to know what you guys think. And by the way, like I mentioned earlier on in this video, I do have plans to release more videos about this upcoming hero Elsbeth. However, I feel like she's going to be released into the game before I actually get to release those videos. But in the slight chance that I do release those videos, I will leave the links for those follow-up videos and all of the other related videos to this video in the description box below, so you guys can check them out if you like. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.